All right, joining us on Newsnight for a review of the midterm performance of the education sector is the past chairman of UNILAG, a chapter of ASUU, Dr. Carol Ogbinaka. Glad to have you join on Newsnight, Carol.
Thank you.
Good.
Welcome.
All right. Some say silent progress, some others say is not yet Uhuru. What do you say?
Well, you will agree with me that it is more of policy statements. The question we want to ask is, how is it impacting on the individual that is being trained, and how is it impacting on society? If you look at the educational sector clearly, you will see that not much have changed apart from what we hear from the news. I put it this way because if we actually contact the drivers of the system, you will agree with me that the cost of running institutions have become very, very expensive. High cost of electricity, high cost of fuel, and other municipal services in our institutions. Apart from perhaps the quantum of universities and schools that have been opened, the main major stakeholders in the system, the teachers, the administrators, and all that, not much have been done to really motivate them. Not much have been done to move them to the next level. The university sector, not much have been done to the salaries of workers, and not much have been done in terms of lifting up infrastructures. Most of the schools being created, actually the resources are being stretched. It's all about third fund, and nothing else. And so when pronouncements are made on the pages of newspaper and the media, you begin to see it more or less like propaganda and no more.
All right. We'll come to TED Fund, but now you've raised the issue of cost of running this institution. So ASUU is asking government to release the 150 billion revitalization fund. The president says, that's the president of ASUU, he says that patience is thinning down over the 2009 AGN ASUU agreement. What's your sense of this back and forth between ASUU and the government and the release of the 150 billion revitalization fund?
I think it is not about the money not being there. It's about the will. It's about the ideology that drives the system. Clearly, I don't think the political class is interested in the educational sector. I don't think they have a clear understanding of what education is to national development, to the development of the individual, and to development of a society. Let me put it this way. We tend to rely so much on the educational output of the West and Europe. And so we don't see any priority why we should move into serious research, serious educational drive. Because why should we do that when all the technologies and everything, they come from Europe? And so we could just purchase them and move on with our life. But that should not be the right approach of government to this thing. 2009 is not yesterday. And if a government over the period, that is why I say it seems to be a class thing. The political class, they are not interested in education. We found ourselves in a system where the government is more or less interested in providing roads, providing rail, providing other things, but definitely not education, not health, and perhaps not even other things that have to do with the masses.
Well, you talked about...
But in a clear...
Go on.
I'm with you.
Okay, well, okay. You talked about TED Fund. The ASUU president is also claiming that funds meant for TED Fund is being diverted to NEL Fund, and the question of, well, EFCC, ICPC, but the NEL Fund is being cleared. And then you had students there saying that, particularly in the Southeast, that some of them have not heard about it. Some said the process is cumbersome. For example, one doesn't understand why a student in any campus should go to the campus in Nsukka to register.
These things are bound to happen in the first place because what was the level of planning that was put into it before it was brought on board? It is clear that the money from NEL Fund is coming from somewhere. And except the government comes out clearly to tell us the source of that fund, it is clear that one can easily say it's coming from TED Fund. TED Fund is supposed to be an intervention fund for tertiary institutions. It was put in place for a purpose. And if the government is coming out with NEL Fund, they should be clear about where the fund is coming from, how it's been raised. Is it from tax? And if it's from tax, what is the source of that tax? All these ones are not there. It was hurriedly put in place, and so we're having a lot of problems, especially in the face of the creation of new universities here and there. Every day they are announcing one new university. That means building up the bank of the quantum of students that will access the fund. Again, too, it's a loan. It's really a loan. And the government, except the government is saying that they will want to one day to write off the loan, many parents will be very wary about, or students will be very wary about just jumping on a loan when how it will be paid back, etc., have not been put in place. You will discover that the problem of loan is also burdensome even in Europe. So just throwing money at a problem, to me, really, will not solve the problem. We need to sit back, articulate these things, have a blueprint or perhaps a Marshall Plan, and see how the money is created and disbursed to students, and perhaps worked out how the students ultimately will pay back these funds when they are gainfully employed. But all these ones, they don't seem to be in place. And really, I'm sure if you sit back to ask even the people driving this thing, how many students do we have in Nigeria? How many students, where are the institutions located, etc., etc., you may not have concrete answers to these questions.
All right.
I believe clearly that the government should do more.
All right, I wish we had time to address the 50 billion naira university given to university unions, and of course the glitch from JAMB and the failure rate, even when it was retaking, and then the training of teachers. Well, that's all we can take, Carol. That's all we can take. I'm sorry, I said we couldn't discuss all those. Former past chairman of UNILAG chapter of ASUU, Dr. Ogbinaka. Thank you so much for being on Newsnight.